We are Travis and Adelle Graham with The Noble Marriage, and we wanted to share with you a story from brokenness to restoration in our marriage.
We had the privilege of being interviewed by Focus on the Family. Our prayer is that through watching our story, that you hear something new for yourself and that you get healing and restoration in your life and in your marriage. Hey friends, welcome back to our channel. This video is part 8 of a 10-part series. And if you're just now joining us, we've been walking through our story of brokenness to restoration and how God has just completely redeemed and restored our relationship. So if you're just now joining us, go back, start at part 1, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. In this video, we're going to talk about safety, what intimacy is, and just touch a little bit on forgiveness. So be sure to join us after the interview portion as we take a deeper dive into some of the things that we share about.
What I saw is there's a completely new way of living, and I don't know if you feel this way, but every time we have an opportunity to work through a disagreement, I feel closer to you.
Yeah.
I feel more connected to you. I feel deeper, richer love for you. Every time that we have an opportunity to work through some type of disagreement, it enriches who we are in our relationship. Whereas in the past, it would be let's shove it under the rug, and then we'll always go back and have a different type of argument, and that kind of stuff just kind of surfaces up.
Right. I learned how important safety is.
Yeah, it was huge.
And I really recognized that our relationship was missing that safety. And that's why I didn't want to open up to you. And I didn't realize it had so much to do with closing my heart off out of safety and protection for myself, not to get hurt. And learning to reopen our hearts towards each other. I mean, if you can imagine two hearts closed, like that's how we were, and we couldn't penetrate through it.
Yeah, I had my walls up.
I
You
had
had
my
your
walls.
walls up. And then we were trying to like talk around the walls maybe.
Right. And through what we learned, just stripping away those walls like a little bit at a time allowed for a new space of safety and openness, which really like led us into what true intimacy is.
Yeah.
And when we I just remember like discovering what intimacy is for the first time, having been married to you now 13 years at the time, and realizing we never experienced intimacy before that.
Right.
And it was something I wanted more and more. I wanted to get to know you better and get on those even deeper levels, because we were just starting to access the deep, rich levels of communication where we truly know each other's heart behind the actions and behind the things we say, and just really listening to the heart for the
On
first
such a deep
time.
level.
Yeah.
I did not know what was going to happen in our marriage. I felt hopeless in that time, and I absolutely had hope that I knew afterwards, after we went to the intensive, I knew that there was hope for our marriage and that we were going to make it out of this. But I was determined to do everything I could to have an open heart and to have a relationship with you that would be pleasing to God and pleasing to you, and that we would enjoy it. I just didn't know how to access it yet.
Yeah.
And so it was practicing that got us there.
I remember having a conversation with you about Buddy and Nancy. And Buddy and Nancy were our host couple while we were at the intensive. And I've heard that a lot of times the host couples, they don't really know the impact that they have on the couples who are there for healing. But they had such a huge impact on us because we saw the life that they were giving us through prayer, through conversation, through just loving us where we were when we arrived, that you and I said, we want to do that someday. Like the way that they are making us feel while we are here is so safe. It's so like a space that we can share anything and be loved. And we had never experienced that.
Yeah.
That we were like, we want to do that for other couples someday. I know we're not there, and I know it's going to take us a while to get there, but we really saw something in them that ignited this passion that we wanted to do that.
Yes.
And so that really, I think, was pivotal for us, because over the next 2 years, we really used all the tools that we learned and started to create a lifestyle out of it, to the point where we know these things without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And we know how to work through any disagreement, any argument that we have, and love each other more on the other side.
That's such a good point. I have been to conferences and classes and maybe some educational things where I will go to it and I'll get whatever it is there to get, but I really won't consider it too much afterwards, or I won't practice whatever it is. And there's an opportunity that we had to be able to go to the Hope Restored Intensive and then get what there is to get there, and then come home and live our lifestyle back the way it was before.
Absolutely.
There's an opportunity for that. And I don't know if couples do that or not. But I was determined that we were going to get everything we could out of this intensive, and then use the 15-week after course that helps you walk through the distinctions a little bit tighter. And I was able to see that, man, our marriage is so much stronger if we use these tools. And so I agree with you. I was like, not only are we going to use these tools, but I'm going to do everything I can to learn everything about them, because they're effective in every part of my life, not just our marriage, but they're effective in the way I speak to our daughter. They're effective in the way that I work with people in the
Everywhere
community.
in life.
They're so effective for so many things, and just being able to have good communication was so great.
And the way that I viewed God really altered while I was there, because my view of God was he's a judgmental God, because that's how I was brought up. And I didn't know that I had that belief there, but I really understood in the intensive that I did not view God as a God that is full of forgiveness and grace and love for me. And I knew that God really wanted to work through me forgiving Travis so that he could feel what grace and forgiveness is like also through Jesus. And stripping all of that old belief away and really seeing who God is to me now. He's my source. He is the one who fulfills me and satisfies me. And, sometimes I think in our relationship, we are trying to pour out of an empty pitcher.
Aren't we?
And then going to each other to fill up that pitcher, rather than going to God to fill up that pitcher so that I can pour out into you. And that was just so huge for me.
Yeah, some of the things for me is I learned how to listen to understand instead of listen to respond.
Yes.
Like, I would listen to make a case in my response to you, not really listening to like, what is it that's in your heart that you're saying? Where is it that you're coming from? And having a good response back to you. So I learned how to listen better. I learned patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. I learned joy. Oh my gosh, I am absolutely filled with joy all day long, every day. And that is just one of the fruits of the Spirit that I have from living a lifestyle that's intentional.
Yeah, and also being able to identify, like, when a feeling of frustration shows up. A lot of times I didn't know why I was frustrated and couldn't identify that. And so it helped us with awareness, just what is actually going on? Because the feelings are just data of information and ways for us to dive deeper into what's at the core. Oh, I have this fear that I'm not good enough right now.
Right.
And then actually being able to communicate that with you. I have a fear that's actually popping up for me, and I know that's not your heart. So I need to go take care of that and take responsibility for what's showing up for me. And I had never done that before.
Yeah, that helped set me up to be able to have a conversation. I didn't know how to share with you the fears that I had. I didn't know how to share, listen, I hear judgment from you. And so just being able to have words, the story I'm telling myself is that you're angry with me right now. Is that what's going on? And it gives great opportunity for you to be like, no, I'm not angry with you. I'm in my own head thinking about groceries. right now, or something like that. And just being able to have words around that, because I would internally dialogue like, oh, she's mad at me. And then I would go down this path that would ultimately lead us to another argument that didn't need to happen. So one of the first things we talked about in that video is emotional safety and how that can lead to having intimacy. What's not emotionally safe is what we were referring to of these walls that come up and trying to talk around the walls. And, those walls go up even higher. I'm sure you related to that in your relationships, is when I feel like you don't respect my walls, I want to put them up higher. I don't want to feel the way that I sometimes feel.
And when we're looking at an unsafe relationship, it sounds like one person trying to share and the other one making comments of, you shouldn't feel that way. I don't understand you. Why do you feel that way? And also, well, here's how to solve it. You could just do this and you won't feel that way anymore.
I used to tell you that all the time.
Yes. And it shuts the other person down from sharing. And so that's what an unsafe relationship looks like. It means that when I'm opening my heart to be vulnerable and it's not received and I'm not accepted for who I am, it makes me not want to share. It makes me want to shut down and keep all the things to myself, which is a really unhealthy state to be in marriage.
Yeah, it really does. It shuts us down. So we have to come up with, how do we create a safe place to be able to share? How can I lower my walls so that I can share with you? And one of the main things there's several main things I've learned, but first thing I learned is I need to love the person behind your wall. I need to love the heart of the person behind your wall first. And I need to be okay sometimes with your wall being up. And I need to be able to share with you openly and transparently about what's going on for me.
Yeah, and in the video prior to this one in part 7, we talk about becoming whole and complete. And that's one of the most important things, because when I'm whole and complete, when you share that you are feeling like a failure because I'm unhappy with something that you did, I don't have to take that on.
That's good, yeah.
I don't have to fall into that pit with you. I can actually create a safe place for you to share and it not mean anything about me that you're feeling the way that you're feeling. And that allows you to feel accepted and appreciated for how you're feeling. And it creates this emotional intimacy in the marriage, which is what I find to be the best part.
That's so good.
Is that a thing? The best part of marriage is the intimacy that we have together. I've heard intimacy described as into me see.
That was a life changer for me when that just shifted something in my mind.
It means I get to see into your heart. You get to see into my heart. The most deepest, most vulnerable things I'm feeling and experiencing in my life, you get to see that because I open myself up to you. And when there's not safety in the relationship, I am not going to open myself up. In fact, we still experience that where we have unsafe conversations and it makes me shut down. His walls go up, my walls go up. It's still always right there for us to dive into.
Easy to access.
And we've learned that in every conflict that we have, we can actually come out closer connected and have more intimacy by letting those walls down, letting you see into what's really going on in my heart. Because it's not about what you did or what you said. It's actually about this thorn, this root that got triggered. That now I'm experiencing something negative. And so I get to share that with you, and we get to have this understanding together about how, like how I'm built and what I've been through in my life and why I am the way I am. And then I get the opportunity to shift that. Because we're on the same team. We're working through this life together.
Yeah, earlier Adelle said that she was going to talk about intimacy in this, and we talked about emotional safety. And there's this formula that we learned from Hope Restored, Focus on the Family, and that is emotional intimacy plus openness equals intimacy. And you've already kind of described how that works, right? You've described that when I am emotionally safe, like if I create a safe place for you can share whatever you want to with me and I will not take it on as it's about me.
Right.
You can have an opinion and I can have a different one, and they can all be fine in this environment. That's emotionally safe because it's her opinion, not mine. And then if I add that with openness, and that is just sharing transparently and vulnerably truth about what I have going on for me, like what's going on for me. Those two things create intimacy on the other side of it, where we can connect with each other and we can see each other from a different point of view and still feel more connected. And we don't have to agree with each other. We can do that without having an agreement with your opinion is your opinion and my opinion might be mine, but it's still going to be safe and okay. There's intimacy in that. And I agree with you. I can see into you. What's going on for you, how you feel, how you arrived at that opinion, which is awesome. I love being able to learn that about you.
Yeah, and you know what prevented us from that for ages was judgment. Judging why each other felt the way that we did and having the opinion, well, you're wrong. You're wrong that you feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's right. And really letting that go, we had to really let that go. That what if we're both right in how we think and feel? What if there is no wrong here and we can come to an agreement with each other of just really understanding where each other are coming from and then have a new agreement moving forward that we're both really good with. And that is emotional safety when there's no judgment involved. Judgment cannot be involved if you're wanting to create an emotional safe place.
Yeah, that's good. You might want to back that up about 30 seconds. Re-listen to that again.
Judgment cannot be involved if you're wanting to create an emotional safe place.
Because what we want to do is add curiosity. You know, the judgment always took me out. But when I change that and I'm curious about what you're talking about and I'm curious about your opinion, how did you formulate that? Where did that come from?
No assumptions.
It has to be no assumptions. When I'm curious about that, I can actually listen to you. But here's what's interesting. When I have judgment, I cannot listen to Adele. What I'm listening to is my internal dialogue of judgment of what she's saying. There's no curiosity. And so I really can't see into you.
Right.
There's no intimacy. There's none available. And I imagine whenever I'm judgment, I know that you know that feeling. So I can ask you this question. Do you feel safe? Do you feel emotionally safe when I'm judging you?
No.
No. Do you feel like opening up to me when I'm judging?
No.
Do you feel intimacy?
No.
It's not available. It's not available for any person.
Is anytime there is a question of why do you feel that way? Why do you think that? It immediately creates defensiveness and a feeling of, I need to defend why I feel the way I feel, which then keeps it from having a safe place. And so, like I said, this still hits our relationship. We are not above this issue. Right. Every marriage struggles to have an emotional safe place. It is a journey of constantly going back to the fundamentals of, okay, this isn't safe. Let's have this conversation again after we've had some time to think about this, or let's switch what we just said. I want to just change what I said because we can see now when something isn't safe and we know it's not appropriate to keep pushing through it. You got to stop, you got to pivot and try again. And that's what marriage is all about. You don't give up. You don't give up trying. You just constantly are shifting, constantly adjusting, and, you know, working on being our best selves so that we can constantly be showing up for the other person in the best way possible.
That's really good. I'm thinking to close us out here, we can go back to that equation to really set this up. Emotional safety, that is, I am choosing to be okay with what my spouse has to say, and it means nothing about me. Emotional safety. Plus openness. That's, I'm going to choose to be vulnerable and I'm going to choose to let my walls down. I'm going to choose to share. Will always equal intimacy. It needs to be on both sides, but that equation really does work to be able to create intimacy in your marriage.
If you want to learn more about emotional intimacy, I'm going to put up a QR code that you can scan. We have a course that is just about emotional safety and how you can create that in your own marriage. So I encourage you, if this is your next step, go ahead and scan the QR and it'll take you right to the course page where you get to learn a new tool on how to create emotional safety inside your own marriage. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next week for part 9. Bye.
Bye.